Chapter 1. The First Glimmer of Silence. The Galactic Council's Chamber. A grandiose sphere of crystalline arches and glowing conduits, buzz with the constant flow of data and debates from hundreds of member species. The Council, the most powerful governing body in the galaxy, prided itself on maintaining order and communication between its diverse members. Yet, on this particular day, the streams of data from one insignificant planet Earth had stopped. It wasn't unusual for less advanced planets to experience occasional communication outages, but Earth was different. A mere 200 years ago, humans had burst into the interstellar scene like a nova. Their rapid ascent was a phenomenon that defied every predictive model the Council possessed. They had emerged from a fractured, warring species to become pioneers of quantum slipstream technology, trading and negotiating as equals with species millions of years older. The Council hadn't known whether to fear or admire them. Humanity's penchant for reckless bravery, boundless curiosity, and a refusal to submit to authority had made them both invaluable allies and unpredictable wild cards. They never sought conquest like other species had in their youth, but they bent every rule, every expectation, until reality itself seemed to yield to their will. But now, Earth's transmissions, always alive with music, laughter, arguments, and the hum of industry, had gone quiet. High Emissary Volerics of the Archdale species, whose bioluminescent tendrils shimmered with the blue-green hues of unease, addressed the Council. This is no mere technological failure. For humanity to fall silent, something catastrophic must have occurred. From the shadowed alcoves, where the more reclusive council members resided, came a low, thrumming voice. Or, growled General Rask of the Hraxi Dominion, his scaled crest flaring, "They are plotting something." This prompted a wave of murmurs. It wasn't an unreasonable suspicion. Humans were infamous for their unpredictability. One moment, they were extending hands of friendship. The next, they were dismantling entire fleets with ingenious tactics. But this silence, it felt different, ominous. "I propose we send an envoy to Earth," said Ambassador Shirala of the Orinqua, her voice soft but firm. Her kind, aquatic beings who valued peace above all, had long been among humanity's closest allies. "We owe them at least that much. If disaster has struck, we must help. And if it's a trap," barked Rask. Volerics interjected, his tendrils dimming to a somber purple. "It's a risk we have to take. The implications of Earth's silence extend beyond the humans themselves. Their systems connect with hundreds of trade networks and scientific initiatives across the galaxy. If Earth is lost, the ripple effects will be catastrophic." After hours of heated debate, a decision was reached. A multi-species envoy would journey to Sol, Earth's star system. Their mission: to uncover the truth behind the silence. The envoy's flagship, Radiant Dusk, slipped into Earth's orbit 3 weeks later. The sight that greeted them was nothing short of chilling. Earth's vibrant surface, once crisscrossed with the lights of countless cities, lay in darkness. The planet's orbital stations, usually bustling with activity, floated lifeless and derelict. Debris from shattered satellites formed a grim halo around the planet. "What happened here?" whispered Shirala, her voice trembling as she observed the devastation through the ship's viewport. The ship's sensors painted an even grimmer picture. No electromagnetic signals, no active machinery, no signs of life. Earth, the homeworld of humanity, was as silent as a tomb. The envoy deployed a shuttle, descending cautiously through the atmosphere. What they found on the surface was haunting. Cities stood abandoned, their skyscrapers overgrown with vegetation. Vehicles, rusted and inert, lined the streets. Signs of hasty evacuations were everywhere. Discarded belongings, overturned carts, broken glass, but no bodies. No signs of conflict, muttered Volrix, examining the scanner readouts. No radiation. No pathogens. It's as if they just vanished. Impossible, growled Rask, his claws flexing against the hilt of his ceremonial blade. Billions of humans don't just disappear. As the team ventured deeper into the ruins of New York City, they discovered something that chilled them to their cores. A message, scrawled in glowing nanite particles across the wall of an ancient library. We had to go. They came back. Forgive US. The team exchanged uneasy glances. They... Shirella asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Who are they? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. In the distance, a faint light appeared on the horizon, growing brighter by the second. A sound followed, a low, resonant hum that vibrated through their very bones. Something was still on Earth. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Void. The ground shuddered violently beneath their feet, the hum intensifying into a deafening roar. The light on the horizon grew impossibly bright, blotting out the crumbling skyline of the ancient city. Back to the shuttle, barked Rask, his deep voice cutting through the chaos. The team sprinted toward their landing craft, their varied forms struggling against the tremors. Shirella, who lacked the agility of her companions on land, was scooped up by Rask without hesitation, her translucent fins trembling in gratitude. As they reached the shuttle, the light suddenly extinguished, leaving the landscape in an eerie twilight. The hum ceased, and an unnatural silence fell over the ruins, broken only by their labored breathing. What was that? Volrix gasped, his bioluminescent tendrils flaring a vivid yellow. Before anyone could answer, a voice, calm, measured, and unmistakably human, spoke over their comm system. You should not have come. The crew froze. Volrix immediately checked the comm logs, but the source of the transmission was nowhere to be found. Who is this? Identify yourself. The voice replied, unwavering. Leave now, or you will know the fate of those who stayed. Impossible, whispered Shirella, her eyes wide. If humans are gone, who's speaking? It could be an automated system, Rask growled, scanning the ruins with his thermal optics. But even he didn't sound convinced. Ignoring the warnings, the envoy decided to investigate further. The team boarded the shuttle, taking to the skies to follow the lingering energy signature of the light. It led them across vast, desolate landscapes, forests that had reclaimed cities, deserts encroaching on ancient farmland, and oceans that lapped against crumbling coastal structures. Finally, they arrived at their destination, a massive crater, miles wide, carved into the earth. At its center stood a sleek, obsidian tower, its surface pulsing faintly with silver light. That structure, it wasn't here before, murmured Shirella, scanning the database of Earth's pre-silence records. It's recent, Volrix confirmed, analyzing the surrounding terrain. Within the last 50 years at most, the shuttle descended cautiously, landing on the crater's edge. As they disembarked, the air grew heavy, charged with an almost tangible pressure. It was as if the very planet was holding its breath. Approaching the tower, the team noticed intricate patterns etched into its surface, glyphs that seemed to shift and shimmer as they watched. None of their translation software could decipher them. This is no human construction, Rask growled, his hand instinctively gripping his blade. As they neared the base, the air seemed to ripple, and the voice returned, louder this time. You were warned. A wave of energy erupted from the tower, knocking the team off their feet. When they scrambled to rise, they found themselves surrounded. Figures emerged from the shadows, tall, gaunt, and featureless. Their bodies seemed to be made of the same obsidian material as the tower, their movements fluid and unnaturally precise. "What are they?" Shirala whispered, her voice trembling. Before anyone could answer, one of the figures stepped forward, its head tilting as if studying them. A moment later, it spoke, not in the calm, measured tone they'd heard before, but in a disjointed, fragmented approximation of human speech. They returned. Humanity fled, left this sentinel, to guard the breach. What breach? Volrix demanded, his tendrils glowing a defensive red. What happened here? The figure turned its featureless head toward him, and for a moment, the glyphs on the tower flared with blinding light. Images flooded their minds. Visions of towering ships descending from the skies, creatures of shadow and flame tearing through cities, and humanity fighting desperately with weapons and technology far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. "They awakened something," Shirala murmured, tears streaming down her face as the visions faded. "Something they couldn't stop," Volrix added, his voice hollow. The figure spoke again, its tone tinged with something that almost resembled sadness. "Humanity chose exile. Sacrifice to protect. Breach must not open. Leave." The envoy exchanged uneasy glances. If what the Sentinel claimed was true, humanity had abandoned their home to save the galaxy from a threat unimaginable. But where had they gone? Rask, ever the pragmatist, stepped forward. If this breach is so dangerous, why leave the tower unguarded? Where are the humans now? The Sentinel paused, its featureless face unreadable. Then, slowly, it raised an arm, pointing skyward. Beyond the stars, fighting still, the team returned to the radiant dusk in grim silence. Back on the ship, they analyzed the data they'd gathered. The energy signatures from the tower were unlike anything in the Council's records, an otherworldly blend of human ingenuity and something far older. Humanity didn't just vanish, Shirala said quietly, her voice breaking the tense silence of the command deck. They left because they had to protect all of us. And whatever they're fighting, Rask added, they might not win. As they prepared their report for the Council, Volrix couldn't shake a lingering thought. If humanity had willingly left everything behind to fight this enemy, what would happen if they failed? And what would become of the galaxy if that breach ever reopened? Chapter 3: Echoes of the Exiled. The Council chamber was silent as the envoy delivered their report. The towering crystalline spire at the heart of the chamber flickered with the emotional responses of the gathered delegates. Blues of confusion, yellows of fear, and occasional crimson sparks of anger painted the chamber's shimmering walls. Ambassador Shirala stood at the center, her luminous fins dimmed with sorrow. Humanity did not abandon us. They sacrificed their home, their future, to protect the galaxy from an ancient threat. The assembled species murmured among themselves. General Rask stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "We saw the Sentinel. It confirmed that humanity fights still, somewhere in the void. But this breach, what it is, what it contains, remains a mystery." High Emissary Volrix's tendrils pulsed with somber hues as he spoke. "We cannot ignore the implications of this discovery. If humanity's sacrifice was necessary to contain the threat, the galaxy owes them a debt it may never repay." A sharp, reverberating sound silenced the chamber as Counselor Varn of the Alter Collective spoke, their multi-tone voice layered with skepticism. "And yet, We are expected to believe their account with no hard evidence. A planet abandoned, a strange tower, and cryptic warnings. This could be a human ruse to cover their disappearance. Perhaps they have retreated to build weapons in secret, to conquer the galaxy when we are unprepared. Angry murmurs rippled through the chamber, but Shirala raised her voice, her normally gentle tone now filled with conviction. You think this silence is an act of aggression? I stood in the ruins of their cities. I saw the traces of their departure. No conqueror abandons their people to overgrown streets and empty homes. Humanity chose exile not for power, but for our survival. The chamber fell silent again. Volerix, his bioluminescence flickering with thought, addressed the council. We must investigate further. We must know what humanity is fighting, and whether the breach remains secure. Foolishness! Varn snapped. If this threat is as dire as you claim, then probing it risks unleashing disaster. Doing nothing is a greater risk, Rask growled. If the breach is compromised, ignorance will not save us. The council deliberated for days. Finally, they reached a decision. A fleet of reconnaissance ships would return to Earth to study the tower and its sentinel. A second mission would be sent into deep space, following faint traces of human activity. If humanity could be found, their story would be confirmed or disproven. The radiant dusk led the fleet back to Earth. Orbiting the silent planet, the delegation deployed advanced scanning arrays to analyze the tower in detail. Every reading defied explanation. The energy signature was a swirling amalgamation of quantum entanglement, gravitational anomalies, and something entirely unknown. As the scans deepened, the Sentinel activated once more. This time, its warning was immediate. Cease. Do not provoke the breach. Ignoring the warning, the fleet persisted. Their curiosity outweighed their caution until the tower responded. A shockwave of energy erupted, disabling several ships and sending others spiraling into low orbit. The radiant dusk barely escaped. From the surface, the Sentinel's featureless forms appeared again, their obsidian bodies glowing with molten lines. You were warned, the central figure intoned. Interference will awaken them. Shirala whispered, her voice barely audible. The Sentinel raised its hand and a flood of images poured into their minds. This time, the visions were clearer. Towering, chitinous creatures, their bodies enveloped in seething black flames, pouring through rifts in space. Planets burning, stars extinguished, and then humanity. Ships with sleek, angular designs clashed against the invaders. Massive weapons unleashed brilliant bursts of energy, tearing through the enemy forces. Yet, for every foe destroyed, more emerged. The vision ended abruptly. Their war continues, the Sentinel said, its voice heavy with an alien sorrow. Humanity fights to hold the line. If the breach opens here, the galaxy falls. Meanwhile, the second mission ventured into the depths of uncharted space, chasing whispers of human activity. They followed faint quantum signatures, remnants of slipstream drives used in ways no other species had mastered. Weeks turned into months as the team traced humanity's path through long-dead systems and abandoned outposts. Each stop revealed more evidence of their ongoing war. Shattered fleets drifting through the void, craters on uninhabited worlds that burned with energy signatures far beyond their comprehension. Finally, they found it, a vast, mobile fortress hidden in the corona of a dying star. The structure, encased in a shell of blackened alloys, bristled with weaponry and energy shields. Thousands of human ships swarmed around it like worker bees tending to their hive. The reconnaissance team sent a transmission. This is the Galactic Council delegation. We come in peace, seeking answers. For long, tense moments, there was no reply. Then, a single ship detached from the swarm, approaching the delegation. It bore the markings of the United Earth Alliance, faded but still recognizable. A human voice crackled over the comms. It was weary, edged with pain, but unmistakably resolute. You shouldn't be here. This is High Emissary Volrix of the Galactic Council. The emissary began, his tendrils glowing softly in a gesture of peace. We seek to understand what has happened to your people. The human paused, then replied, If you're here, you already know. The war hasn't ended. We're holding them back, but it's only a matter of time before they break through. Who are they? Volrix asked. The human's voice darkened. We call them the Voidborn. They're older than the stars, older than time itself. We woke them when we reached too far. Now, we're paying the price. What can we do to help? Shirella asked, her voice filled with desperate hope. The human's reply was grim. Pray and prepare, because if we fail, they'll come for you next. Chapter 4. The Price of Defiance. The words of the human emissary echoed in the silence of the Galactic Council delegation's vessel. Pray and prepare. The stark reality of humanity's burden settled like a crushing weight on the envoy. Back aboard the fortress, the humans allowed limited access to their operations. The delegation saw firsthand the extent of the war effort. Every corner of the immense structure was a testament to human ingenuity and desperation. Factories churned out weapons at an industrial scale, soldiers drilled in perfect unison, and scientists worked feverishly on experimental technologies. One section of the fortress housed stasis chambers, row upon row of them. Within, sleeping figures floated in a pale glow, their faces frozen in determined repose. Who are they? Shirella asked, her voice trembling with reverence. Our reserves, a human officer replied. The ones who'll fight when we can't anymore. Rask, ever pragmatic, folded his arms. And what happens if you fail? The officer's eyes hardened. Then we'll make sure we take as many of them with us as we can. That's the best anyone can do. The council delegation learned more about the Voidborn over the following days. Humanity's adversaries were unlike anything the galaxy had encountered. Beings of pure entropy, capable of unraveling the very fabric of existence. They fed on energy, consumed matter, and left behind nothing but silence. The Voidborn's arrival had been triggered by humanity's first experiments with higher dimensional travel, a monumental leap forward that pierced a veil better left untouched. The breach humanity had inadvertently created had become a permanent scar, a gateway through which the Voidborn could seep into reality. Why not seal it? Volrix asked during one briefing. The human scientist leading the session shook her head. We tried. Our best minds built containment fields, collapsed stars into it, even detonated singularities. Nothing worked. The breach isn't a thing, it's a wound. The only thing we can do is hold the line, and that line is Earth, Shirella murmured. The scientist's expression softened. Earth was just a beginning. We've moved the fight far from the core worlds. But that doesn't mean we've forgotten what we left behind. Despite the grim circumstances, humanity's resilience was undeniable. They fought not for glory or conquest, but for survival, and for the galaxy that had often underestimated them. The delegation bore witness to a fleet launch. Thousands of ships, each one bristling with weapons and shields, emerged from the fortress like a tidal wave of light. Among them were experimental vessels that shimmered with unstable quantum energy, piloted by crews who knew they wouldn't return. They're deploying to reinforce a collapsing front, explained the human emissary. If they fail, the Voidborn will gain another foothold. You're sending so many, Volurx observed, his tendrils glowing with sorrow. What if you don't have enough left to defend here? The emissary's gaze hardened. Every battle matters. If we falter anywhere, the breach will widen. We don't have the luxury of caution. The delegation returned to the Galactic Council, bearing a grim message. Humanity's war was not a distant struggle. It was a shield that protected every species in the galaxy. If the Voidborn broke through, there would be no alliances, no refuges, no resistance. The Council, long divided on how to regard humanity, faced a choice. Ignore their plight and hope the humans could endure, or offer aid and risk being drawn into a war that could consume them all. Predictably, the debates were fierce. Some argued that humanity had brought this upon themselves, and that interfering could destabilize the fragile balance of galactic power. Others, led by Shirala and Rask, insisted that the galaxy owed humanity more than gratitude. We've dismissed them as reckless, unpredictable, and dangerous, Shirala said in an impassioned speech. But their recklessness has saved us. Their unpredictability is why they've survived this long, and their danger lies only in how far they will go to protect us all. In the end, the Council agreed to send aid, though the extent of their commitment was cautious. Advanced resources, scientific collaborations, and a token fleet were pledged to humanity's war effort. It was a gesture more symbolic than practical, but it marked a turning point. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy stood united behind a single cause. Years passed, and the war raged on. Humanity's sacrifice became the stuff of legend, their names spoken in reverence and awe across countless worlds. They remained elusive, their forces appearing and vanishing as needed, always at the front lines of the conflict. The breach at Earth remained sealed, guarded by the Sentinel and its inscrutable technology. No one dared approach again, heeding the warnings etched into the planet's desolate surface. And yet, whispers persisted, stories of humans returning to the core worlds in secret. Their ships barely held together, their eyes haunted but determined. Of alien fleets saved at the last moment by human reinforcements. Of experimental technologies that defied the known laws of physics, wielded by a species that had nothing left to lose. Through it all, one message endured, a quiet promise from the depths of the void. We will hold the line, and hold it they did,